All right, it's the June 28th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here along with you. A lot of 80s on the board for highs in North Carolina yesterday, some 90s in South Carolina, low and mid 80s for the Triad viewing area. Look at the Charlotte viewing area, mid and some upper 80s in the Piedmont, some 70s up in the high country. Let's take a look at some webcams early this morning. This is during the 5 a.m. hour. We'll look at some coastal web cameras, some pretty neat scenes there. We're looking at the sky beginning to brighten there in Morehead City early this morning. Temperature at 78 degrees there. And we'll take a peek here along the Outer Banks. Rodanthe, again, beginning to brighten that eastern horizon out there over the Atlantic with the temperature at 77 degrees. Wake Forest looks like that. Some high clouds early this morning. The temperature stands at 70 there in Winston-Salem. And things are pretty quiet overall in many other spots this morning across the state of North Carolina, and until you get to the mountains, that's when things get pretty active. That's the Greensboro Tower camera, for instance, this morning. 71 in Charlotte, 73 in Columbia, Wilmington 76, 60s in the high country. Had a big round of thunderstorms once again rumble through parts of the region. I'll show you the radar from yesterday here right now. And again, had those storms kind of fire in the mountains, then work down through South Carolina and the southern parts of North Carolina. Had a number of wind damage reports associated with those storms. Once again, most of those symbols represent some type of wind damage. Had a clustering of reports there in parts of Stanley County and the Montgomery counties. Most of that wind damage, tree and power line variety during the 5 o'clock hour yesterday. And some sporadic other wind reports associated with that activity. But we're beginning to transition into a quieter weather setup. Now this morning we do have these storms moving into the mountains. Again, this is the radar during the 5 a.m. hour. Kind of an unsettled early morning in the mountain areas, and then back into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. But this is a setup where we're seeing some quieter weather begin to try to ease in from the north. There's this frontal boundary moving in, and notice how quiet it is in the Midwest. That's what's heading our way. But still another day where the mountains pick up a few storms, but east of the mountains the rain chance is pretty low. So there's what it looks like on Futurecast. I'll show you first of all the severe weather outlook. Notice that's more suppressed off to the southwest today compared to recent days. And there's the high resolution future radar. Notice in the Carolinas, pretty limited activity. A few isolated showers or thunderstorms certainly possible, but the coverage of rain much less today than what we've had on recent days. But there will be that opportunity still for isolated thunderstorms as we go through mainly this afternoon and this evening at the Piedmont, and of course it's happening this morning in the mountains. There's your highs getting hotter across the region today, and that'll be a continuing trend. Maybe a few coastal scattered storms tomorrow. The rest of the Carolinas look dry and pretty hot for Friday. There's our Friday highs, and we have this big upper level ridge building right overhead. Well, looks like the data vanished on us, but either way, this big upper level ridge developing right overhead. There you go. As we get into the upcoming weekend, and then as we get into next week, just kind of set up of a lot of heat and a lot of humidity in many, many spots over the eastern part of the country. So it looks very much like a July weather pattern. The heat really taking hold for us on Saturday. There's our Saturday high temperatures. Sunday continues to look pretty hot as well. All right, a quick look at the tropics. It is quiet. We'll look at the Atlantic Basin as a whole. No big weather issues out there whatsoever. A lot of dry air. That Saharan air layer present over much of the Atlantic. That's pretty dry stuff, and it's hard to find any decent cloud cover for a good chunk of the Atlantic into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. All right, that is it for the latest edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.